Well, hello. It's episode 4 of IndyCar Weekly here on GlacierTV. Will Vincent, Dave Judson, and some random Irishman. Neil McBride along for the ride. Plenty to talk about once again in the next hour and a bit until we get bored. Who knows, whatever. Dave, it's been a pretty damn busy week, not only in the Irish IndyCar Series, but also 2 races in Canada as well.
Yeah, well, very exciting week for the IndyCar Series. A total of 3 races in a matter of 7 days and 1 winner. So Scott Dixon's really tearing up the IndyCar Series, really making a run at the championship right now.
And it's about damn time we did so as well. I mean, Dixie, we'll talk about real-life IndyCar for one first. I mean, Dixie's been one of those drivers for so long that the fans just love, but he played second fiddle for a long time, really, to, you know, Dario in that 2009, 2010, 2011 championship. And really, it's about time that number 9 target machine got ahead of the number 10 car.
Yeah, it's nice to see for Scott, you know, being the longest tenured driver with that team. And I mean, he's been with Ganassi since, God, I don't even know how long. That's how long he's been with them. And it's nice to see that he's not having to play second fiddle to Dario there. And, you know, heading into Mid-Ohio in a couple weeks, he's known as Mr. Mid-Ohio, so he's got to feel confident going into that track to get potentially 4 in a row and really stamp his name on the championship even more than he has.
Yeah, he's on amazing form, just unbelievable ways come from all of a sudden. Now you have like Pocono, now Toronto, and like I said, Mid-Ohio is going to do well there probably. Like, didn't know he was going to win a championship until now. You're probably going to have either him or Castle Evers going to the end.
That's a crazy thing about it as well. All of a sudden, you've got a Penske in contention for the championship. You've got a Ganassi in contention. You still technically have a couple of the Andretti boys, but once again, Hinchcliffe, his second half of the season, he's pretty much just chucked it down the crapshoot. But that 3 wins in a row, last year, Dave, that's how Ryan Hunter-Reay really got that momentum to take that championship charge to power. Now, let's not forget, 3 races in a row, as far as I'm aware, that puts him top of wins for this year alongside Hinch. And as far as that's concerned, he's had a dismal season up until Indy. And because of the way the point spread has been this year, so many different winners in the first half of the season. Although Andretti, you know, was the dominant team, he had no dominant driver. And now Dixie has got the chance to capitalise on that. All he's got to do is make sure that, you know, the likes of Castle Evers doesn't, you know, start taking points away from him. Power doesn't start winning races, and him retiring again to have people start eating into that points gap again.
Yeah, Scott Dixon's really kind of at the point of the season where, you know, nobody really took the championship by the throat. It was just kind of trade back and forth. Nobody consistently was winning races or finishing up front. I mean, Hinchcliffe was winning races, but then the next week he'd finish dead last. So that's just killing his championship momentum. And now, as we're getting into the stretch run, Scott Dixon brings off 3 in a row. And since the season's been so up and down with so many different winners, he's really in position to take advantage. And, I mean, I don't know how you could say he's not a championship favorite right now, because Castro Neves, yeah, he's won a race, and but he hasn't shown the consistency where he's out there. He's not finishing on the podium every single week, gaining points and pulling away. He's steadily lost championship lead over the last 3-4 weeks. So he's got to really step it up if he wants to contend for the championship.
You have a look at the top 5. Okay, you talk then. You know the rules around here, do you? I talk. You occasionally butt in. That's your chance to butt in. Go.
Yeah, like I said, it's all about consistency. You know, consistency is key. Like it's no use in you winning races if you can't finish the other half of the races, like with Hinchcliffe. Like it's just like same with like KK Rosberg won the F1 championship in '82. Like he won based on consistency. He only won like 1 race, and he pretty much won at the end. So that's consistency is key if you want to win the championship in IndyCar this year.
And I'm having a look at the standings right now. Elio Castroneves does lead the standings after the 2 in Toronto races. 425 points. Got Dixon a total of 396 points. So right now, a little under even 30 points separating those two drivers. It's a further 40 points back to Ryan Hunter-Reay in third. Marco Andretti just 1 point back in fourth, and then Simon Pagenaud, the Frenchie himself, 309 points in the fifth position. So the important thing here is that, Elliott has had a consistent season. It's probably been his most consistent season in a long time. Dixon has had a comeback. Ryan Hunter-Reay isn't out of it, and he's still leading that charge for Andretti Autosport. The thing is, though, we're not going to hit an oval until the last race of the year at Fontana. That means, once again, Hunter-Reay is going to have to drive road courses as good as he's ever done. Marco, he's been good on road courses this year. He needs to step it up even more. And Elliott, we know, Dave, that he can get a little bit hot under the collar. And we're going to a track, you talked about Dixie calls that place, his own racetrack. Elliott, on a track like this, he could crack under the pressure.
Yeah, we've seen it before in high-pressure situations on road courses where he slips up. Mid-Ohio is a very technical course, and that, the guys with the best skills on road course usually rise to the top. And Helio's going to have to step up his game if he wants to contend for his very first IndyCar championship.
And do you think that, at the stage of the career that Elliott is in, you talked about how, Tony Kanaan didn't really want to retire until he won an Indy 500. Elliott, he's been around the blocks now. He's been with Penske since, 99, I think? 99, 2000? Yeah, 2000, so it's been a long, long time to be stuck at one team. Not won a championship. He's won 3 Indy 500s, however. So, he's got that as a legacy at least. Do you think this is his probably last chance to really actually make that chance for a championship run now?
I think so, probably, because his past few seasons haven't really been that great, to be honest. He's always had Will Power being the number one driver, but now Power is kind of struggling in terms of his results, and now this is really Castroneves' chance to take it. So I can't see how he's going to get any more opportunities if he doesn't win a championship this year.
Yeah, if he doesn't take it now, I think he'll be so mentally defeated that I don't see him contending again.
And we've still got, a good number of races left to go in this season. Of course, we start at Mid-Ohio. Then we've got the Grand Prix of Sonoma. We've got Baltimore. We've got 2 races in Houston. And then, of course, we finally head back to the Oval for the Map TV 500 at Fontana. Now, out of the top 5 drivers, who realistically has got the best shot of winning the championship, Dave?
Dixon. He's excellent on road courses. He's shown that he can step up his game when he needs to on the ovals. I think at the present time, he's the most well-rounded driver and in the best position right now to take the championship with 6 races to go.
Kyle?
Yeah, I think Dixon might just have an edge of Castroneves. Like, you remember the championship in 2008 when Castroneves always had a shot of winning, but he just never made a stick, and Dixon just went away with it that year. He is known as the Iceman. So he's always very calm and collected in situations like this. So I say, personally, I would like Castroneves to win the championship, but Dixon will probably, if he's consistent, he'll get ahead at the end of the season.
I think I was just going to say, by the time Fontana rolls around, I think it's going to be between Dixon and Hunter-Reay.
You talk about that 2008 championship, and it kind of is a recurring theme, in my opinion, for Penske. I mean, you look at 2010, Will Power, lap 134 of the Café de Brazil 300, hits a wall. 2011, at Kentucky, he does crap. And then, of course, Vegas happened. 2012, lap 52 of the Fontana 500. He spins and hits a wall. Is there something, do you think, maybe in the actual psyche of Penske themselves that, I don't know, puts additional pressure on the drivers, or there's not that kind of support system there that Dario might have had, that, Ganassi or Andretti had last year, putting it on to Hunter-Reay? Do you think there's actually something within the team which is stopping them getting that championship?
I think it's just similar to Andretti luck. It never seems to work out for the last race for them somehow. It's just You know, it's the same with the, see, like the Andretti's, like the amount of luck they have in the Indy 500s, just it's very similar to what's happening with Penske for the championship every season.
Well, I think Penske's problem is their strategy in the races or lack thereof. I think the last couple of years, Will Power should have had a championship practically locked up going into the final race. Especially last year, look at the mistakes that the team made at Baltimore when they were changing to rain tires and not changing. And Hunter Ray took full advantage of that. And that really turned the momentum around. He was one race away from basically clinching the championship and instead gave Hunter Ray a victory, which, turned the tide. And then Will's got to try to make something up in an oval where he probably would admit that he's lacking and spins the car out and wrecks again. So I think those guys unfortunately have to make up for the lack of strategy calls and the lack of good calls that Penske seems to be screwing up on the last couple of years.
You make a good point there, actually, and going back to 2010, actually, Will Power arguably didn't lose that championship by himself. Tim Cindric cost him that championship back at Chicago, man. You think about Indy. I don't think he went through an Indy 500 for about 3-4 years when he didn't have some form of failure on pit road, which put him in the wrong position, which essentially forced him into incidents. So I think, if Elliott doesn't win the championship this year, there are going to be some very, very, very long tracks back at Penske HQ. And, whilst the NASCAR side has been getting better and better and better, their IndyCar side arguably has been getting worse. And that kind of leads me into another question, Dave. I mean, Andretti Autosport, they have signed a deal to compete in Formula E, this random electronic car malarkey. Why do you have electronic cars when you're not going to make any noise and you want power? I have no idea. But there is also those rumours of them coming back with Dodge into the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And then you have a look at Penske. They've got their Sprint Cup team. They've got their Nationwide team. They've got their IndyCar team. Do you think maybe Penske have been, very good at a lot of things, but not the master of one in the last 10 years? I mean, in many ways, Keselowski kind of had to drive that car to the 2012 championship. He didn't really get much help from the team. The way that team's been over the years, the same way that the team seems to be lacking just a little bit in IndyCar.
It's funny that Brad Keselowski is the perfect example of the total opposite of the IndyCar and the NASCAR team. Basically, those guys with Keselowski and, they went out there and strategized their races like to the T and won the championship based on strategy, which was the complete opposite of the IndyCar series. They blew their championships because of strategy. I honestly, just in my opinion, think that since Roger Penske is obviously not a spring chicken anymore, he's probably withdrawn himself a little bit from the management of the teams just because he's older. He's got his trying to put people in position to run the team when eventually he decides to step down or whatever. And those guys are not Roger Penske's. I mean, that guy's one of a kind. I mean, he's a very successful businessman, has started up several successful and continuing to be successful race car teams. So, I mean, I think the influence of Roger Penske has lessened over the last couple of years, and I think you're seeing the result of it.
And to move away from Penske Ganassi, because of course it always dominates at an IndyCar, we'll talk about Toronto, shall we? We messed up the first time completely when it came to the standing start. The second time, we finally got it, and we finally got a standing start in IndyCar Series, which worked. And I have to say, actually seeing a standing start in IndyCar the second time, once it actually got going, Dave, was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was nice to see a new wrinkle thrown into the IndyCar Series. It just kind of adds a different, like the IndyCar Series, you got to be talented at everything to win a championship. And that's just another thing that you got to be able to master. And it was a great start. It was nice to see all those guys pouring in there because we all kind of know sometimes the initial starts are, the first couple rows are lined up 2 by 2, and then it just kind of fades away. But you can't fake a standing start. Those guys went full out and raced into turn 1, and I thought it was great action.
Yeah, I thought that was really good because to see a standing start in the IndyCar on the road course is probably the best thing they've ever done. Like, because it's just like there's so much tension. There's so much tension involved when you see a standing start. Like, say, same in Formula One. Like, you're just waiting for those cars to go, and what's going to happen in the first corner, kind of thing. Like, it's great. Like, I really hope they continue with this for the next few races and maybe for this season, hopefully, and for next season.
The rules need tweaking a little bit though. That whole rule of if we mess it up once, we're going to go straight to rolling start. I think it's a little bit of a cop out, and I'm sure there are a number of fans in Toronto on Saturday sat there on the grid and then realised that little kid from Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing messed it up for everyone, and they weren't going to get that second go.
Yeah, no, that was such an anticlimax when that happened. It's a real shame. Like if they really should do what they do in F1 and just do a lap around and then go back on the grid and start again. Not just like have another rolling start, because then it kind of just seems disappointing when you don't get to have a standing start when you're waiting for it to happen.
We'll talk about more about rules and etc. in a moment, but Bourdais, he's finally come back, Dave.
Yeah, nice to see a resurgence out of Sebastian Bourdais. Did everything right except holding the trophy this weekend.
That was the funniest thing ever.
Hopefully he can carry that momentum through the rest of the season. It's nice to see him doing well. And you can't discount him running in the Rolex series the rest of the season. More track time, I think, is beneficial to everybody.
Oh yeah,
it's a real shame he's not in he's not in a top team, because I'm sure he would have a stronger chance of winning races if he was, because he's been in IndyCar for a few years now, except for not including Champ Car, but but in IRL he's been in there for 2 or 3 years now, and he's finally got a podium. It's surprising, considering how talented he is.
Well, when you consider the fact that Ganassi had a 4-car team, I really did suspect once Graham Rahal left that they'd keep the only drivers to complete the Indianapolis 500, even though he kind of made sure that Hildebrand had to go high in turn number 4 coming out the final corner and hit the wall. I love you, really. Honest. I don't. But I really did think that they're going to keep that 4-car team and then get someone like Bourdais with that star power to kind of make it. So you have 3-star drivers, and then you have Charlie Kimball just bring in the money, because that, to be blatantly honest, is all he does.
Pretty much, yeah.
But that's the thing. When Briscoe left, Penske, I never really saw Penske going back to a full 2-car team program. We all knew they're going to have 3 cars at some point in the season. We know Penske can find money if they need to find money. They got Allmendinger in. Heck, they could probably put Allmendinger in the car for more races. All they need to do is put the screw in a couple of sponsors once in a while, or even talk to Miller a little bit and say, "Hey, Miller, sponsor an IndyCar race once in a while." They'll do it. So Bourdais, I think he needs to get a good drive, and I think he should get a good drive, to be fair. From the positives for Bourdais, however, to the negatives, because we had 2 races back with that useless, pathetic, imbecile for a human being, Brian Barnhart. We love him.
Yeah. I still remember that day, Loudon, that wet race when they let it go green. Just absolute disaster. Why would he even think in doing that?
You just wanted to see Danica Patrick spin. Oh yeah, drink.
Guys, what I don't understand is, does anyone in the IndyCar series understand what kind of PR nightmares they create for themselves on seemingly a weekly basis? They have to know that the fans cannot stand the guy. He tried to start a race on an oval in the rain. That tells you everything you need to know. And then, Bo Barfield's not there for the weekend, and that's the best choice to, be the top guy. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why wouldn't you have Derek Walker head that, a guy that, IndyCar fans trust and know? And at least if they made a bad or poor decision, at least it wouldn't be like, oh, it was Barnhart, just start rolling that train again. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I want to go back one step. Why the hell would you allow your director of competition to have a week off in the middle of the season? You've had that schedule now, in the books for 6 months. He could have taken holiday this week. He could have taken holiday any other off week. Why does he have to take it on a double-header weekend on a street course when you're doing standing starts for the first time? It, in my opinion, was a momentous cock-up by IndyCar. And then, of course, Barnhart, the Franchitti. Oh, he's going to lose his points. Oh, no, he's not going to lose his points. And one of the things as well, I mean, the rule book is still so damn secretive. I mean, I've got a copy of it, but you have to know where to find it. And that whole, well, if it's a double-header race and you get damage, then you don't actually have to use the tyres because you might run out of them. Where the hell did that rule come from?
Does Firestone not bring enough tires for 2 races? Come on, that rule's ridiculous.
I mean, in my opinion, you know, Dario, the right call was made in the end in race number 1. The wrong call was made in race number 2. As far as I'm concerned, Dario, it wouldn't have been difficult to put another set of reds in. I would have understood if Ganassi had actually, had no set of red tyres at all they could use. They surely would have had a scrubbed set of reds they probably used once in qualifying. They could have used them. You know, it's going to hurt them, but at the same time, any other driver would be in that situation. And, you know, he should have had to at least have done 2 laps. Simple as that. Period. End of story. Once again, Barnhart's messed up. I completely agree with what you say, though, Dave. Derek Walker really should have been doing it from that box if Bo Barfield wasn't there. But why the hell wasn't Bo Barfield there in the first place? That's a big question.
I'm volunteering right now, Will, to be the PR guy for IndyCar and help them sort out all these needless issues. I'm available.
Well,
it really isn't.
They've got bigger issues on their plates coming up, because let's not forget, you know, Izod's going to be gone either end of this year, end of next year. So they're going to need to find a new title sponsor. And they've got contracts coming up, I think, in Brazil. They're going to have to sort a couple of things out. They'll have some peak contracts coming up soon. We all know what the deal is with Long Beach, and even though they say it's not for sale, deep down it probably would be for sale if someone gave them enough money. So much progress has been made in IndyCar in many ways over the last 2 years, and thankfully more of it is coming. The fact that now they've got a board who actually want to push forward rather than just allowing the teams to dictate things. But they have got a lot of issues on their hands right now, and you can clearly see it from a distance.
Yeah, I think IndyCar just needs to keep building positive momentum and have as few, oops, like with the Barnhart situation as possible. Just keep maintaining what they have, and if enough fans are enjoying the product, then all those sorts of contract issues and things will hopefully sort themselves out.
Oh, by the way, Takuma Sato's on probation till the end of the year. About time.
Yeah, like after that was the worst thing I've ever seen in Pocono. Like it's like something you'd see in iRacing, like that you protest someone for, Like to see it in real life is just shocking. Like I don't know what's he gonna do next, Well,
at a track like Pocono as well, it is probably the most dangerous track to have done that, Dave, because of the fact that, the pit road and the track is separated by nothing. It's a far straightaway anyway, and you have to know when to hit the brakes. And if you had a brake failure, then I could simply understand, but it never looked like he had a brake failure. It just looked as though he just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, as a professional race car driver, that should have never happened. I don't know what to say. It just shouldn't happen. It was stupid. I'm sure he's admitted that it was stupid, but it was completely needless and didn't have to happen, and probation is more than warranted. I hope he learned something from it. Yeah, we all love the wild side of Takuma making dive bomb passes and making things exciting, but when safety is involved and the lack thereof, you got to draw the line somewhere.
Agreed, completely. And I'll tell you what, I managed to talk about real life IndyCar for 24 minutes. I don't even think ESPN could talk about IndyCar for 24 minutes if they tried. And in fact, we'll talk about that very quickly as well. We are now back into the NBC Sports side of things, so we're back to Diffie and Co. Pretty much for the rest of the season, unless Diffie has to go and do an F1 race on at the same time as an IndyCar race, and NBC don't want to actually make it look as though that they're not at the racetrack, even though they're actually just in a TV studio somewhere. But NBC's coverage, it was storming over this weekend once again, and one of the things that kind of got to me from that Derek Walker interview, and also things Robin Miller said, is that there's some form of a contract clause that doesn't allow the races to be on NBC, which really it kind of confuses me. Again, IndyCar signing a contract that would negate them full time to essentially speed, but speed that you're just getting less households. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would love to see the Fontana 500 on network.
Well, I'm sure that at the time, ABC was probably the only partner, and they were probably basically the only ones that said at the time, hey, we're willing to broadcast IndyCar races. And they probably wanted protection for their, over-the-air network. So if someone else did come in, it kind of wouldn't steal their thunder. It was kind of a perfect storm of the situation. IndyCar was a very low popularity. There was probably very little bidders wanting to broadcast IndyCar racing. So, NBC Sports was still a new channel, still establishing themselves. They didn't have Formula One at the time, so they weren't showing anything on network anyway. So I think that they kind of have to grow with this first contract, and maybe once things come around, they can start getting some more publicity and showing things on, NBC in the Sunday afternoon, or, a Saturday night race or something of that sort. I'm just glad that it seems like a network that actually cares about the coverage and what is presented to the fans. In NBC is, broadcasting races. I'm happy for that.
And the team as well. I mean, I have my own personal issues about the fact that Jan Beekers is back down on pit road and not in the booth, because I think personally he's a lot better up there. But overall, that team, especially led by Diffie, they all season long have done a sterling job. In my opinion, they are one of the best commentary teams in all the motorsports right now.
Agreed.
I agree too.
Yeah, I actually prefer them a lot more than the other lot, like Marty Reid and all them, to be honest. Lee Diffie is pretty good. I quite enjoy watching IndyCar with him commentating.
Go ahead.
There was that one issue in St. Petersburg at the start of the season. I'm not sure if anyone else had this, but the volume of the racing was so low, and the commentary was okay, but just say this balance between the sound was off or something. But other than that, the rest of the season, it's been pretty good.
So I was going to say, it's been kind of an interesting little twist that they've thrown in some of, David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. I know some guys don't care for David Hobbs, but it's nice to kind of have a different voice and kind of almost an outsider's point of view. I thought Steve Matchett brought a lot of energy and excitement to the Toronto races, and he's very intelligent, and I enjoyed his commentary. I thought it just made the NBC coverage just even that much better. Yeah,
I kind of liked having Dave Hobbs there. It's like just watching like F1 on speed, like again, just bringing back the memories. Just kind of makes it a little bit traditional having them back there. So yeah, it was pretty cool having them back.
Just keep Warbucks away, and on that bombshell, we'll move on. By the way, Mr. Paquin, good evening.
Hey guys.
We're going to move on to the wonderful world of iRacing now. Where should we start? We're going to have to start in one place, aren't we, Dave?
Yes, sir. Pocono.
The iRacing.com Pocono 400 took place last weekend. A couple of things I want to say before we go much further on this. And we'll start with the qual versus iRating debate one more time. And I'm going to say this in the hindsight part of things right now. Really, there was three options. 1 lap qual, 4 lap qual, iRacing. Do you guys think that it was the right call to make to have the 4 lap average qualifying when you look at the racing, the participation numbers, and everything else involved?
I think it was pretty good because it was like 4 lap qualifying in Indianapolis is pretty tough. Like, and having it in Pocono is very difficult because if you make one mistake, like you've ruined the whole 4 lap average. I mean, it's just really makes it a real challenge. Now you got to really work hard to get into that top split or the second split or whatever. Like I think it was a good call to have the 4 lap average, just add that challenging aspect to it.
Yeah, from a pure racing standpoint, the best option was 4 laps of qualifying to sort out who starts in the top split. iRating, might work for some other series where guys throw a trick setup or do a donut or something. You're not going to have that happen in the IndyCar series. Best talented drivers with the best setups are going to start in the makes you have to earn it. If you're in that top split, you earned it. You didn't happen to win 10,000 Daytona plate races to get a 6,000 iRating and sneak your way into a top split. You earned it.
I kind of agree with all you guys, other than the fact that I believe there should be a 2 lap available, and I know iRacing said that wasn't possible with the software the way it is, but I think they were on their game a little bit and were prepared as we all feel they should be. Then it would have been decent having a real life 2-lap qualifier.
Indeed. And to give people who are a little bit less familiar with the way that IndyCar works, there was a point when 4-lap average qualifying was run. I think it was actually from 2008 through to Iowa 2010. They did run 4-lap average pretty much every single race. It just hypes it up for Indy, really. No one realised. But then they changed it in 2010. It's still that process today that on ovals, it is a case of 2 laps. They call it 2-lap cumulative, really. So it's the same thing, 2-lap average, 2-lap cumulative, because it works out to be exactly the same. You know, it's your time over the course of 2 laps. I mean, one of the things we learned from qualifying, Dave, is that it was incredibly tough for drivers to not only find a balance but keep that momentum over the run on that bumpy Pocono racetrack, especially down into turn 1. The car's not set up properly, you're not set up properly, and you know Lady Luck's not on your side. It is incredibly easy to lose a tenth of a second and a little bit more in one corner.
Absolutely. I know in my practice attempts at qualifying, I could bust out a 3 average 1 lap or 1 session, and then a 6, and then a 4. It's so hard to find a rhythm, which is why, you know, guys like Young O, Martin Miller, Matt Cook, they really nailed, you know, their 4-lap qualifying. To be in the 1s and the O's is just an incredible feat and shows what kind of talent those guys have when they're driving the virtual IndyCar. I got so frustrated that I decided to not qualify because I couldn't do it. I could not put down 4 clean laps and hit those bumps just right and get into that perfect rhythm. I can get a decent rhythm at Indy because it's 4 basically same corners. There's no harsh bumps or anything like that. Just stay off the walls. Pocono's a completely different animal. Driver's track is as much of a driver's track as a big 2.5 mile oval is.
Yeah, those guys had some insane pace in the top split. Like I was probably the best I could probably do in 1 lap was like a 41.6, and I was trying so hard to get that average. And like every time I do a 41.6, 41.6, 41.7, then a 41.8, it's like, oh my god, like what the? I'll be working. Thought I was going to get a good lap, and I'm only getting up at a 41.7 and puts me in the top split. But it's just so frustrating to get. You have to be absolutely perfect to get that average just about right. You know, it's just so frustrating. Like it took me about 3, 4, 5 attempts, and I still ended up with a 41.7 average.
You know what I'd like to see them do on top of that is 3 qualifying attempts for these World Tour events. That's it. And if you withdraw your first one and attempt the second one, the first one's gone. These guys doing 100 qualification attempts during a week, it's just sucks the fun out of it.
That'd be pretty insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was originally supposed to be for the Daytona 500. That's that 1 qualifying session before each event, which never materialized. But I think it would be a great idea. I mean, realistically, you know, you'd still have to have qualifying either right before the race or the entire week. But that idea of limiting the number of runs, it puts that additional amount of pressure on that. And both Dave and John, you'll remember, of course, from 16th Street Racing League and ISOWC, Indianapolis qualifications. It is a completely different animal when you've only got that 1, 2, 3 runs to get the job done compared to, okay, I messed it up, I'll go out on another hour and try again.
Yeah, it creates quite a bit of build-up. Positive drama, if you will. It's fun when you got 1 shot at it or a couple shots, and you know that if you withdraw, that's you're withdrawing, and you got to do it again. That adds quite a bit of positive drama to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's just going to show the mentally tough guys that can go out there, and if they're on their first or second attempt and bust out a pole time, they overcame all that extra adversity and pressure to put up that time. That just shows even more talent and adds a lot of drama, and that would be great if we could have limited qualifying attempts. Because we all know the guys that are up at 3 a.m. qualifying all night long because no one's there and there's no pressure. But maybe one of these days we'll get that.
Let's talk about the race. Of course, we had the race on Friday night, the race on Saturday afternoon as well. rookie D-Class, I'm really sorry. I didn't pay any attention to those races well. All I know there was 2 splits in. Congratulations to who won on that. As far as the C plus races went, the first thing that you could immediately see from looking at that results sheet, you had 6 cautions on Friday night, of which one of them was actually a bit of a, I wouldn't say dummy caution. I'm trying to look for the word. I know I'll come up with it in a minute. That caution wasn't really meant to be. So 5.5 cautions on Friday night, 5 cautions on Saturday in the top split. Some of, arguably, Dave, the cleanest, most difficult racing we've ever seen at Pocono.
Yeah, it was a great race. It was nice to see Young-O not just drive away from lap 1 and never be contended with. Matt Cook and Martin Miller put up a hell of a fight, and I believe Matt was really close to winning that race near the end there. Unfortunately, got a speeding penalty. But, it was only his second time in a major World Tour event, so I'm sure the butterflies were there when he, headed into the pits. And I'm sure he learned a lesson, but Young-O shows again why he's, a champion on iRacing. He's able to master the pressure and go out and win these big races.
It's just like, it was a similar situation in the second split that I was in. Like, I led 108 laps, and with 10 laps to go, I get passed by the leader, Zachary Trull, and he ends up winning. I was just, like, we were basically 3 of us battling for the lead the entire race, and I've been at 10 laps to go. Just imagine how devastating that is.
In my race on Saturday, since I did not qualify, our grid was kind of weird. The first 15 cars were the bottom 15 qualifiers, and then the next 15 cars were the top 15 I-rated guys that did not qualify. So I was able to survive and win a split that had Sal Malatic that was 16 laps down. So, I mean, I should get my own trophy there, I think.
Oi, Salma finished.
He did finish. I believe he finished 11th, 16 laps down. There was a ton of attrition, if you can believe that for a moment.
I can imagine.
Well, I mean, both the races, actually, they did have quite a lot of attrition. I remember my race on Friday night. I ended up finishing the lead car on the lead lap. In fact, I was incredibly lucky that the caution came out and we had ourselves a 2-lap shootout at the end. The way the single file restarts work, we'll come back to that in a minute, by the way, meant that the cars went to the rear of the field. Whereas if it was a 15-lap run to the line, it could have been a chance. It would have been a lot more difficult for me to keep hold of that position at the end of the race. But both the races had a late race dash to the line. Overall, incredibly good racing. Although, of course, a couple of people wasn't there for the races this week. Do you think that is more of a fact that, Indy's Indy, it brings out all the big guns? Do you think people just wasn't bothered about Pocono? Is it just the fact that people don't like IndyCar anymore? Or is it just a combination of all 3 of them?
It's a tough track. It's not Indy. And, kind of maybe a hangover from the 4th of July holiday. Guys weren't really prepared or didn't feel like taking on the Pocono Challenge.
Like Dave said, Indy is Indy, basically. You care more about Indy than you want about Pocono. Like, Indy's got that tradition involved. It's like Daytona, where everybody's going to go to Daytona, and
Yeah, I agree with both of you. It's not Indy. It's bumpy. It's difficult. The possibility of wrecking every lap is there. Who's Selma, by the way?
God, I think he's got a 300 I rating. He's the guy on the forum he's always in. I'm in.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He changed his name or something recently. I like the
sir.
Like the BT of the Dallara forum and off topic. Okay, I got you.
Yep.
But I mean, still racing. I mean, I've talked to Sean about this after the race actually, and it's one of those things that if there was 1,000 people that participated, maybe would have had races which would have had the 16, 17 cautions that people were fearing could have happened. Having looked through the field, actually, only a handful of races had more than 10 cautions. To compare that to the fact that in the official series, you had 3 cautions in 35 laps for the fixed. You had a total, I think, 4 cautions in 60 laps for the open race. Of course, there's a little bit more urgency in those races being shorter, but that caution to lap ratio, I think, was incredible. And for the most part, the racing that we saw, pretty damn good as well. In fact, I did talk to Sean Siff after the event. He said that happy with the participation numbers, and he feels that they made the best option for the most amount of people. They've learned over the last 5 years you really can't please everyone, and also next year, hopefully, and I say this hopefully, Sean, I'll give you pizza if you make it happen. Again, we might get a triple crown.
Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be just. I'd definitely do that for sure.
With a new car, right?
I know. Well, we need to give him more pizza for that.
The most talked about thing all year is the DW12.
Well, now the Lotus 49's out of the way, and then Eric Kudek's got to make another aero car if he finishes the 49, surely.
Yeah, well, now that to me it's a physics change. Sorry if I burst anyone's bubble, but the Dallara on short ovals and road, the fidgety, it's just so twitchy. I can't really put a finger on it. I'm really wanting to race the IndyCar again, specifically on road courses, quite frankly. But until there's some changes made, I just can't see it. And I'm hoping the new car is the best change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's get rid of it. I mean, we love this IRL 05 car. There is a point when we need to put it to bed, however, and I think that time is rapidly approaching. In fact, it probably was rapidly approaching a year ago, but hey ho. But yes, there is a good chance next year we will have ourselves an Indy 500, Pocono 400, and a Fontana 500. Fontana, not in the next build, but we'll probably expect to see it at some point within the next 6 months. I know that iRacing are working on it. And that is all we are going to talk about Pocono in this broadcast. We promise. Moving on to the official series. And Dave, the road guys, they have still got that battle which will take place tomorrow. Of course, the biggest race of the week for them occurs on Saturday afternoon. For the oval guys, it's pretty much all done and dusted now as far as both the Open and the Fixed Championship is.
Yeah, on the road end, in the Open Series, Nico Brandt with literally the perfect season, 11 starts, 11 wins, 11 poles. He's led all but 35 laps of competition. Dominant season, great guy. Nice to see him on top. Dennis Garis is probably going to need a miracle to recover 100 points in the last week, but hey, stranger things have happened in racing. And on the fixed end of the road, let me pull it up here. Carlos Labate is leading Dennis Garis by about 40 points. So that's a pretty close battle. That could flip at any time. So it'll be interesting next week to see where that shakes out.
And they're at Spa as well, which is not only the second most busy week of the season, so it means that iRating is going to be higher, that 40 points. It could be a big difference maker, probably going to be the biggest strength of field of the season for the fixed series. But also, it's one of the most demanding tracks on the roadside as well. The layout they're on, the historical layout, really puts drivers under more pressure as well. Especially those little putting 2 wheels off the racetrack here and there. Very strict to race control when it comes to the safety rating at this track.
The problem I have with Spas is a glitch in the bus stop chicane. That's kind of prevented me from racing there, unfortunately. But yeah, like you said, Spas it's an amazing track. It's so much fun to drive, and if you get the lap just about right, it's so satisfying. You know, it's beautiful. It's just like, you know, fast corners, all sweeping corners, and none of these Tilka-drome style tracks. Like it's just wide open. There's so many overtaking possibilities. It's a perfect track, to be honest, especially for IndyCar.
Yeah, Spa will definitely put you in your place. I feel that I've improved a lot on the road in the last 6 to 8 months. Practicing this week for the ISOWC race on Sunday at noon Eastern. God, I'm dog slow, and I've got a lot of work to do. So it's very humbling.
So, what was that ISOWC race again?
The ISOWC on Sunday, 12 Eastern time at Spa-Francorchamps, 33 laps. Hope everyone can be there.
Thank you. On the oval side, they're at my favourite oval in the entire world, Phoenix.
Kentucky.
Phoenix.
I love Phoenix.
I love Phoenix. Phoenix, I mean, the Phoenix of today is slightly different from the Phoenix of yesteryear in iRacing, and that it's one of those tracks, a little bit like Loudon, a little bit like Milwaukee. It's not as difficult to drive. as it was a year ago. I mean, there used to be a time when you had to really drive that car and you were on rails the entire run almost. And I remember talking to Monica Clara Brand about this, and she was saying literally her setup was on a knife edge the entire run. All the setups I've run at this place, you either had to drive it on the knife edge to be fast, or you had to, give up half a tenth to ensure like you'd get that car to make sure it would survive the entire run. Now, I think still though the biggest issue though, Dave, is in qualifying. Cold tyres, working yourself flat out through turn 3, can still be a little bit hairy.
Yeah, there's a lot of options you could take with your line in 3 coming out of the pits for your first lap. A lot of guys are very squirrely on that first lap till the tires get warmed up. And if you can nail 3 and 4, you can gain at least a tenth, if not more, on your qualifying laps. So, yeah, definitely a lot of pressure there coming out of the pits, not to lose it and not to lose a bunch of time.
You say that Phoenix is easier than it was in the past. Yeah, but you still see people spinning left, right, and center, and especially when they touch the apron, you have literally nowhere to go if you're behind them, and it's just always massive wrecks and etc. It's still maybe easier, but still people are wrecking big time.
Well, you've got that apron is probably the second. In fact, it's probably the equal slipperiest place in oval racing, alongside of that bottom groove at Loudon. There's also that Bermuda Triangle there, just as you come out of turn 4, that really invites you in to try and cut the exit of the corner. Don't do it. Simple as that.
Very tempting.
Yeah, very tempting. Never do it. But at Phoenix as well, the walls kind of like cave into you a little bit as you come into the corner. And it took me forever to realise that when I first started testing there. Turn 1, 2 as well. You've got to... It's Pocono all over again. Sorry, Dave. When you've got to really have faith in yourself, have faith in traffic around you, and have faith that you're not going to come out the corner high, brush the wall, dart down to the left-hand side, take a couple of cars out, and end up upside down.
Yeah, if you don't have the confidence in your driving abilities and your setup and where you're pointing that car, you're already mentally defeated, and you're not going to do well. So, got to be on top of your game, just like always, but some tracks demand a little more than others.
And the other thing is it's not only to have the confidence of being fast on the track, it's the confidence in others around you. Say if you're on the inside, the guy's on the outside, and you can't see him, and he hits the wall and goes in front of you, you're pretty much screwed. So it's all about you have to really trust the guy that you're racing at this track.
So that's Phoenix. That's the official. That's the series. But it's kind of all sorted itself out now, Dave, and both open and fixed. Unless we're going to have one of those last race on Monday, stacking the field up, malarkeys with someone trying to leapfrog someone else. We've got our champions now.
Yeah, in the Open Series, Martin Miller with 8 perfect solid weeks scored more points than last season, and he's ahead by about 45 points over Randy Crossnow. Those two guys are teammates, and I know that they're not going to engage in any shenanigans, and no one else is close enough in the points to make any difference there. So looks like Martin Miller's going to be your 2-time defending Open Series champion. And in the fixed series, goes without saying, Tim Doyle, you automatically think champion. I believe he's won 3 straight and 5 out of the last 6. I know I've talked to John Goke, and he is unable to race again this week, so he will not be able to challenge Tim in any other races. So it's unless Andre Castro finds a good split at the end of the week, I believe that Tim Doyle will have his championship wrapped up in the fixed series as well.
And there we are. Let's move on. Who to driver of the season? Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to keep people on edge here. Driver of the season. One for road, one for oval. I think for road, in my opinion, it's very easy. You've got to say Nico Brownlee. There was a time when I did feel really sorry for Nico, because there'd always be someone who would come in just for one season and somehow find that way to beat Nico. One point, Marco Viitanen did it. One point, Mark Fangman did it. Then you had Joel Masari do it. This season, Brandt has just been dominant. One of the fastest guys out there. One of the most helpful guys out there, doing the school sessions on Monday nights. Also, he set up an IndyCar team with guys, he don't you wouldn't necessarily think, would be the best people to just jump onto a team if you're going down the same route that's been the team situation for the last year. But the guys who he's taken on, he's really helped nurture them, train them up and along the line. And he's got a really good bunch of guys working for him. So on roadside, Nico Bryant, hands down. Oval side, in my opinion, it gets a lot more difficult. Because you've got Martin Miller, who, staggeringly calm, collected guy who gives it his all, and he's just really good at what he does. Tim Doyle, fixed series champion once again. In my opinion, one of the top 10 people to probably drive the IndyCar, period. He's got the results to show it. But then you've got people like Matt Cook. And then you've also actually got that one guy who kind of sticks in my mind for having an amazing season in the fixed series this year. And that, Andre Castro, third place from nowhere. And, he's really had a great season. It was only finished 54 points behind Tim Doyle.
Yeah, well, without a doubt, Nico Brandt in the road side. Great to see a great guy who is doing a lot to positively promote the IndyCar series on the road. Do well, have a absolutely, to this point, perfect season. And very nice to see him. He's definitely, I think, without any arguments, the driver of the season there on the road. I got to go with Matt Cook on the oval. A lot of great choices. Anybody in the top 5, in the fixed could be driver of the season. But Matt Cook just kind of every race he's in, he can win it, and he's got the whole package. Qualifies well, races smart, aggressive when he needs to be. Very few incidents. That Matt Cook would be my choice.
I actually agree with you, Dave, for both drivers. Nico Brandt, I remember I was in a host session with him, and he was giving us a guide around Interlagos, and the way he did it was just it gave you like an extra second or two on that track, by looking at his lessons. Same for Matt Cook, because he also has videos about guides on the ovals and where the perfect line is, where you lift, that kind of thing. They're both very helpful drivers, and they're insanely fast. There's no way you can catch them. So I'll go for both those drivers for roads and ovals.
That's interesting. Agreement in IndyCar. That's crazy. A couple more things to talk about. The first one, a bit of a fun one here, Dave. In fact, I'll open it up to all three of you very quickly. Carlsberg, Coors Light. Which one is the drink to drive when you're racing an IndyCar out of the two? This is a fight between Mike Larson and Randy Cosmo.
Carlsberg.
Dave.
Got to go with the Carlsberg.
Like Coors Light.
Oh, hell, you know me, Will. It's Gatorade, man.
That doesn't have any alcohol in it.
Well, unless you put vodka in it, maybe.
I never said I wasn't boring. Just Gatorade, though.
So there you are, Mike. You win.
You know what? If John Pinkman's going with Gatorade, I think I'm going to have to switch, because that guy runs well in everything he races. So if that's what it takes, I'm switching to Gatorade.
I just wrecked, by the way, running the F1 car around Zolder, and I think I had a lap where I would have got pole.
Wow,
man, that car around Zolder is just, every time I get a 1x going around that track, it's like just a little bit on the gravel, 1x straight away, instant.
Zolder's tough. It took me a long time to get used to that racetrack. Let's move back on to IndyCar. This is an IndyCar show. But
no way.
Next question. Next topic. And this is probably going to be one of the most controversial things we've talked about here. We're going to talk about teams. And it seems to be, once again, Dave, we're in that situation where the 1 year curse strikes. To give you an idea of the 1 year curse, over the last 2.5 years, a number of teams have come. A number of teams have done well in varying degrees of portions of size, and then that 1 year curse hits, and they go. We'll give you some examples. That pathetic IndyCar team called Team Afterfag. You have... Yeah, I'm allowed to say that. I started that crap, I'm allowed to end that crap. Team Afterfag. You have also Nexus Esports, for example. Really big for one point, then they disappeared. Slowpoke Racing, they've kind of disappeared off the wayside recently. You've had the Team No Buenos pretty much falling apart over the last, month and a half or so. And that one year curse, it keeps on hitting, Dave.
Yeah, it's hard for a team to stay on top. Everybody's gunning for you, and as much as it's a sim, there's a lot of pressure guys put on themselves. I know for me personally, that's as close to legitimate racing as I'm ever going to get, is racing here for championships on iRacing, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. And um, not speaking for anybody else, but sometimes that kind of thing breaks guys up or causes some animosity, and then you just got some crybabies out there who, since they're not winning, they throw in the towel and retire. So things like that happen. But and then sometimes the car isn't where it needs to be, and guys decide to take a break. I mean, there's lots of different reasons that guys either are running or not successful. But I mean, as in all racing, you can't be on top forever.
Well, those people
Hey,
that leave and then come back again, do they come back again, or do they just leave? Or do they come back again, then leave, and then come back again, then leave?
It's just like
Go ahead.
It's just like World of Warcraft. Like you don't just simply quit World of Warcraft. You're always going to come back after about a month or so. You have the whole addiction. I mean, you kind of miss the whole buzz about playing that game like that. If you're into that kind of game, a similar thing applies to iRacing. When you just if you're gone from, like, say, a month or two, you start to think about it again. You want to go back, and that kind of thing. After a much needed break, you feel more fresh. That kind of thing. Like, it's just, unless of course is somewhere else, like we might be playing, I don't know, R Factor 2 or something, like, and you prefer that. Like, that's pretty much how that goes.
I'll tell you what I see with the team thing, and tell me to shut up if I say anything wrong. But I think I've been here longer than any of you, so I've kind of seen the teams when they first started, like the first teams that ever got started. To me, there's two mistakes that get made. A, they get teams based off someone's performance. In other words, they look for a hot shot instead of friends. You know what I mean? You'll never go wrong if you got 3 or 4 guys that are very good friends and you work toward a common goal. And if you get good, you get good. But if you don't get good, there's no pressure on you, and you're still happy because you're with your friends. The second mistake is the size of the teams. The guys that go and get 12 and 16 guys on their team, they are just shooting themselves in the foot. It's going to fail. There's going to be one guy that either embarrasses them with his behavior, or rumors of giving setup findings away, and yada yada yada. All the drama is multiplied with the more teammates. So, in my opinion, those are the two things that are the demise of every team: either the size, or not picking a team for friendship, but picking them for their abilities.
Oh yeah, because that's the whole reason why I recently joined an IndyCar team, and the main reason for that is to kind of have a more social aspect of it. You have these guys that you'll be working with more often than others. So it's a social aspect of having a team is just what's going to drive it, basically.
Yeah, John, you said it as well as I think anybody ever has. Those two are great reasons. And I know that when I race with my friends, it's always different, and I never feel like a piece of crap at the end of the day, because if I'm racing with people I truly like and are friends with, I'm having fun. But something about working with teams, I have met some guys on here and talked to guys that I've become friends with. So, yeah, big teams probably won't stay forever, but there's some decent aspects of it. I mean, I've met a lot of good people on here that I would never have met had I always stuck with my core group.
I mean, there's one team, for example, that comes into mind when I think about this. Good Old Boys. They were around when I joined iRacing. In fact, I apologize. They were probably actually one of the reasons why I decided to set up an IndyCar team in the first place, because I got rejected from them back when I first started running in the IndyCars, back in 2011, January, when I took out either Sean or Niles in an IndyCar Premier Series race, because I didn't realise what the IndyCar Premier Series was. Oops.
It was your accent.
I know, it was because of my accent. But they're a team that are still going. They're a team that are still going. Their results, they have been solid ever since I was on here until now. They still got the same guys. A couple of them have been added, a couple of them are left along the way, but they're still there. Then you have a look at other teams, for example. I think Vortex are actually, out of all the teams there is right now, probably the ones that actually been going the longest out of the current IndyCar teams, probably along with Panther Online Racing.
I think it's because it's all built around friendship. There's not that pressure of, oh, we got the man on our team, so we're expected to be good, and it's pressure for everyone. You know what I mean? They're all on it for the right reason. They're just the social group.
And then you have a look as well. I talked about Nico Brandt early on. Team that he's built up together. Of course, Nico, when it comes to running a road side of things, I say allegedly, he is that guy who perhaps has that power to design setups. But on the road side, it's a completely different animal as well. You kind of, you drive within yourself. You can't necessarily just take a setup and run. The idea of friendships and IndyCar that you talk about, though, Dave. Pretty much I've been running with Randy Crosno now pretty much since I started running on the IndyCar. In fact, two first people I started working with, John Palmquist and also Mark Wilmington. Still friends with both of them. Yet there are other people along the way, you work on teams. There might be people you get on really well with. There might be people who you don't necessarily like, but you'll bite your tongue for the sake of keeping quorum. And then there's people who you might just want to fly over to the other side of the world and punch in the face. None of them, honestly. I would never do that to anyone. Honest. Yeah, I know. But that's that whole thing as well. I think the way that interactions work, and I've talked to a lot of WCS team managers about this, people like Dom Duhan, Jack Bassford, Andy Kay, and they all say that same thing. It's not necessarily about the group of people, the size of the team you have. It's the way that everyone interacts with each other. But at the same time, now, the bigger the team, the more chance there is that one guy might not like one guy, he might not like one guy, and essentially it might all fall apart.
Yeah, and there's jealousies that turn up too. When if you got the wrong group of guys and everyone wants to be the man, no matter how good they are, and then you get one guy that clearly is the man, and they can't take it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about with Team Afterbirth. You probably ran into that a few times.
Team Afterburn having issues? Never. Yeah, I know, right? By the way, for the record, I loved a period of Team Afterburn. I hated it at some point. I never want to talk about it ever again, honest. But I think that concludes that thing. There's something else we were going to talk about. Oh, yeah. Pizza. That was it. We have a pizza fund set up now, Dave, apparently.
Yay, pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah, apparently you can bribe the iRacing staff with a large amount of pizzas for a specific period of time. So a forum topic has been started, and I guess if you contribute enough pizza, maybe we can get the DW12.
And like I said in the forum, I would gladly donate €5 for that to happen.
These are Americans. They won't understand what a euro is now.
You're all dreaming.
Yeah.
As well, don't forget, sign a petition on the iRacing IndyCar forums. And we're heading into week 13, Dave. What does week 13 mean?
Week 13 means if you run an official series, your iRating and safety rating is your own problem. Prepare to lose it. If not, some fun, sometimes strange, weird combinations of cars and tracks. Sometimes, clean out the computer for the week or just jump into random races and see what the hell happens.
I'll give a word of advice to everyone.
To spectate. Week 13 is for spectating, buddy. It's fun.
Yes, sir.
I'll give everyone a word of warning. Don't drink alcohol, then accidentally join street stock races, thinking that you can actually gain iRating.
Oh God, they are disasters. Those street stock cars.
Your iRacing subscription is well worth the price of watching bottom split street stock races for week 13. You will not regret it. If you never run an official race, but you spectate, the price will be worth it, which should lead into a promo for... You scream really loud saying half off your first month.
Oh yeah, that's it. Don't forget, if you would like... I'm going to start that again. Lead me into it again.
Your subscription is well worth the cost of watching bottom split iRacing street stock races.
And don't forget, if you would like to join iRacing, right now, if you head over to iRacing.com, you can get yourself half price off your first 3-month subscription. Alternatively, if you go to Facebook, you can get yourself 2 months free. So basically, you buy 1 month, you get 2 months free. You're paying $12 to experience the joys of iRacing. And also, week 13, we have IndyCars. We're going to have, 2 road courses and 2 ovals, which means we get Charlotte. Yay! And we also get Rockingham. The only issue is that you picked the wrong Rockingham. They haven't scanned the one in the UK, the good one. So we have to go to that place they call The Rock in North Carolina.
They've been there, don't even have that track, so I have no idea what that's going to be like. I'm guessing it's going to be bumpy.
Turn fast, turn left, right?
Probably. Well.
Oh, I mean, this is the thing as well. We'll talk. I mean, this comes back into the scheduling debate. I mean, Rockingham is a track which has been, along with Darlington and Dover and Talladega and Atlanta and Charlotte, and you're going to have to help me up with a list here, and Daytona and a load of other places have been suggested as races to be run in the IndyCar. Now, you have really the 3 groups of people. You have the purists, like me, who want to have an IndyCar schedule made out of real-life IndyCar tracks. You have the ones that say, well, you know, let's have the race participation. And then you have those that couldn't give 2 shits. I think, really, week 13 is a good place to at least try out Rockingham, Dave.
Agreed. 13 lends itself to people just randomly jumping in with a fixed set and seeing what happens. So a good chance to test it and see what happens. Rockingham's most likely going to be a hug the white line and don't screw up and you're going to win, but you never know. I'm a purist. I think that the iRacing schedule should follow the real life as best as possible using real life tracks, but I do have a fondness for Talladega. You can all shoot me if you'd like, but I do have the world record, so I'm going to have to say that I like it.
I agree with you on being a purist because, you want to have a realistic schedule, and next season is going to be pretty good. You're going to have the traditional 2002, 2003 IRL style calendar. You have Homestead, Phoenix, and then Michigan, then Indy. It's going to be pretty good. It's at least it's realistic in terms of what ovals we're going to have next season.
I think as well. I like the theory about Rockingham. I think you're going to have to try it out. I think at the same time, it has a place, in my opinion. Put it in week 13. You've got enough tracks. I counted it now. You have 14, 15 tracks that feasibly could run IndyCar without too many issues. Texas, I know people don't like Texas. I think it still deserves its place at least once a year because we run at Texas. Talladega, just to let you know, Dave, this is how you win a Talladega race. What you do is you start the race, you save fuel behind someone, you run out of fuel, you coast it to pit lane, because you then get the extra lap that you need. Then you fill up with fuel, you go back out, you save some fuel, you run out of fuel, you coast past the line, and you win the race. Understood?
That's the Will Vincent way.
Yeah.
That's kind of similar to how I won Talladega a couple of seasons ago. I was about to run out of fuel and I was making a pit stop, like everyone else pit before me. And then suddenly there was a huge wreck entering pit lane, and I literally went back onto the track even though I had only like half a gallon left or something. It was 2 or 3 laps to go and the caution came out, and I won the race because of that. Just by split-second decision to go back on the track, but even though I nearly hit the cone to get into the pits, it was just really lucky, to be honest.
Penguin would like to talk.
No, I was fumbling around shooting, search for my gun to shoot Dave with.
Okay.
Are you not going to defriend me on Facebook, are you, John?
No. Oh, by the way, off topic, Will, my sister Jennifer's little girl, Alexa, that came over, she really liked your capri pants you were wearing.
Awesome.
And she actually wanted you to come over because she wanted to hear your accent.
Oh, thanks. I've had enough of bees about my alleged metrosexuality, so I'm used to it by now.
There's no alleged about it, Will. When you wear capri pants, it's pretty much set in stone.
It's called not following trends and wearing what we call English fashion over here. And next time I'll come in a tweed jacket with elbow patches. Is that going to make you happy?
You wore it well, Will. You pulled it off, brother. Don't let him tell you different.
Yeah. Hey, we've got Andy Swan here. You turned up an hour late. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know.
He's on Central Time or something.
Yeah. So how's things going for you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Made a change in my team this week and trying to move on.
Oh, you just missed the fun talking about teams. For No Bueno, that kind of 1 year curse that I've talked to you about a little bit before kind of hit. And it's a shame because No Bueno, they had their successes along the way. They've been really good on their IndyCar things. But is it just a case of time for something new?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. What basically happened was we had 5 members of No Bueno, and there was only 3 real active members. And by active, I mean, in iRacing at all. And then Andrew led his subscription laps, and I wasn't racing IndyCar anymore, and Rob was the only one, so I decided to move out on my own, and I'm actually forming a new team right now.
That is No Bueno?
Excuse me?
No Bueno?
No, not.
No,
I
no
see what you
bueno.
did there.
Oh, okay, I got it now.
Bueno. I mean, IndyCar itself, I believe that you're taking a bit of a break away to run in the Nationwide series, because Nationwide is on your side, called 866-500-5555. But plan is to come back to the IndyCar at some point soon?
Absolutely. I think IndyCar will always be my home. Right now, I just want to wait until the DW12 comes out, and hopefully our pizza bribe will help smooth that along.
Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
We're missing a guy that knows a lot about pizza. We should have invited him here.
I know who that is.
I have no idea who you're talking about, Dave.
I would recommend Domino's, for sure.
Ari Leindyke's car. Oh, we should all run Ari
Yeah.
Leindyke's car to try and, make iRacing hungry so they accept this deal.
Do a drawing of a DW12 with Domino's on it. That would be perfect.
Yeah, I'm poor now because of today, but I think that pretty much is almost all we have time for. We have the Will Vincent Challenge next week. By the way, I'll play the piece that I made at the end of this broadcast. But without my knowledge or my approval, Dave, we're having a race at Homestead with just 2 gallons of fuel in the car.
50 laps, no cautions, no resets. Who can make the best pit stops? It's really going to be interesting, especially at Homestead where you got to use the access road in turn 3. I can't wait. It's going to be very entertaining. And if you're not racing, like John would say, spectate it. It's going to be well worth it.
Will it be broadcast?
I don't know yet. We'll find a way. I'll give you a bit of an insight to how this started. Every week, when we're testing, at some point, I always remind our guys, learn to pit. So someone would go out there, they'll do a pit stop, and then I'd go out there, do a pit stop, and I'd be like, yeah, you're half a second slow. And it'd become a competition. And then actually we learn how to do pit stops so we don't mess it up as often in races. But that competitive nature, I think, is kind of transferred over, and I think Porzake's actually getting me back for when I whooped his ass in pit stops at Homestead about a season ago, Dave.
Well, you are the pit stop master, and I did learn a lot from you, especially at Michigan, where I know you are especially excellent. Little tips that you taught me helped me win the 16th Street Michigan 400. I gained a lot of time there, and what won me the race. Pit stops, in my opinion, in IndyCar make and break most races.
Well, actually,
Absolutely.
that feeds into the Tim Doyle thing. I think I talked about this in the broadcast for Pocono. And Tim Doyle, Young-O, especially. I know JP's been in that situation as well. It's very good to run fast, especially the way the draft model is. It's very difficult to pull away. You have to make that time up elsewhere. Strategy, always important. Pit stops, always, always, always important. You can gain 2-3 seconds easily on a pit stop without having to do that pathetic little thing when you come back onto the racetrack and try and gain yourself some little free time because you don't know how to pit in the first place.
That was my weakness, and that was probably my biggest weakness when I was doing the Indy 500s this year. It was just every time I make a pit stop, I'd lose a position, but luckily I was able to win the race. But it was just every time I was losing positions, even especially like on the caution, like if I was just trying to say even short filler to gain a 10th or whatever, but it's just you just got to be perfect going to the pits, and especially coming out, especially coming out of access road and 1 and 2, you got to be perfect there.
There's lots of time to be gaining the pits for sure. You're smart for practicing it because, as well as I do, weight jacker changes, brake bias, things of that nature. And And a lot of the guys that pit with the rev limiter on and don't take advantage from tweaking a little bit, they're missing out on a little bit.
Amen.
So that's pit stops. I don't even know when that is. It's apparently the World Instant Challenge Series, but I have no bloody idea when it is.
This Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
There we are. I'm sure my employers will be happy that I'm going to stumble into work an hour late, but hey, who cares? They only pay me.
Hell with them.
And I want to move to America
is
anyway.
Important.
Yeah, iRacing's my life, remember? So, of course, that's what's coming up this week. Week 13, we're racing, let's get this right, Laguna Seca. Is it Montreal we're racing at as well, week 13?
I hope so.
Oh, come on. Someone go to iRacing for me. I got to do it all. Okay,
Come
I'm
on,
going
don't
to scan it down, scan it down.
30 hosted rooms up, you know that?
Charlotte, Interlagos, Laguna Seca, and Rockingham. There we are, week 13. And we've also got ISOWC action coming up this Sunday from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. 33 laps, starting out what time?
12 p.m. Eastern.
There we are. And also the ISOWC will have 3 races broadcasts in the next 6 weeks, starting not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, with the 2nd annual Kentucky 400. 267 laps around the racetrack that I hate the most. Broadcast live, exclusive on Glacier TV. Last year, Tim Doyle won that race on pit road, with arguably one of the most controversial moments in ISOWC history. So that's coming to you, let's say, 1 week's time. Then 2 weeks after that, we have the ISOWC Racer Champions. This is where I'm going to be incredibly mean and pick one car, make him run it on a road course and an oval. May the best man win or wreck. And then 2 weeks after that, we have the 3rd annual ISOWC Indianapolis 500. And you're all going to be racing it, aren't you?
No.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I have to finish an Indy 500 in some way, shape, or form.
I tell you what, Dave, if you win that and you win Fontana/Michigan, I'll give you $200.
Well, that would be
wow.
pretty sweet because that would be the Triple Crown.
Yeah, I may take part. I'll just have to find out the time and if I can, depending on work.
Can you
$200
also?
of Will's money. Maybe I'll have to do that too.
You are aware that that money will come out of my 2014 Indy 500 fund, so, but I'll let you off.
Pizza funds.
Oh, here it goes.
No, it's like, I made a deal. So if you win the Triple Crown, Dave, you get $200.
Thank you, sir. I will be proud to take that challenge. But you have to ban Young O and Tim Doyle, so I have a chance at Indy.
No. You beat them.
Can do. You know what? I don't believe I've ever beat Young O, but I know I've beat Tim Doyle before. So
Whoa! Don't start going all CCM on me.
No. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying I do have a chance. That's all I ask for is a chance.
There we are. And also, of course, Glacier TV. If you'd like to relive the iRacing.com Pocono 400, click on you. Well, you're already on YouTube. Otherwise, how you listen to this? Go to our channel, search it. It's there. I promise. The commentary was awful, but hey, I was commentating. And that is pretty much all we have time for. Dave, leave me with some. In fact, no, John, leave me with some pearls of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. I don't think I have anybody. Race the GT series. It's fun. They don't get mad when you kick their ass.
There we are. Go race the GT series. IndyCar is dead. Long live the GT series. See you later. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
I love...